Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jai Shri Shri Gaura Anitai, Jai Shri Shri Radha Govardhana Riki, Krishna Balaram Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrinda Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Mix out. So, let me see what verses on the board do you think? 14. Does it say 14, 15 up there? Yeah. So for some reason I've got to do two verses. I guess that's a good thing. Pardon? Yes, that's Canto 3, chapter 24, verses 14 and 15. Narayanam namaskritam narocharam narottamam Devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet Nastapadeshu badreshu nityam bhagavate sevaya Bhaktam uttam ashoke bhakti bhavati naishtiki Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, this one. Text 14. Repeat after me. Imaduritara Satyas Tava Vatsa Sumadhyamaha Sargam Mitam Pravavesve Brihmaishyantya Nikada Imadu Ittara Satyas Tava Vatsa Samadhyamaha Sargamitam Prabhavesve Brihmaishyantya Nikada Imadu Ittara Satyas Tava Vatsa Sumadhyamaha Sargamitam Prabhavesve Brihmaishyantya Nikada. Others, please. Imadu Ittara Satyas Brihami Shanti Nikada Imaduhitara Satyas Tabavatsa Sumadhyamaha Sargametam Prabhavasve Shanti Nikada. Vaishnavis. Ladies? Madhuitara satyas tavavatsa smadhyamam sagamitam pavavasvai imai shantanekadaha. That's it. Repeat after me. Imaha, these, Duhitaraha, daughters, Satya, chaste, Tava, your, Vatsa, O my dear son, Sumadhyamaha, thin-waisted, Sargam, creation, Etam, this, Pabhave, by descendants, Sve, their own, Brima Ishanti, they will increase, Anekada, in various ways. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: Lord Brahma then praised Kadama Muni's 9 daughters, saying, all your thin-waisted daughters are certainly very chaste. I'm sure they will increase this creation by their own descendants in various ways. Repeat after me. Lord Brahma then praised Kadama Muni's 9 daughters, saying, all your thin-waisted daughters are certainly very chaste. I am sure they will increase this creation by their own descendants in various ways. Purport. In the beginning of creation, Brahma was concerned more or less with increasing the population. And when he saw that Kadama Muni had already begotten 9 nice daughters, he was hopeful that through the daughters many children would come who would take charge of the creative principles of the material world. He was therefore happy to see them. The word Sumadhyama means, quote, a good daughter of a beautiful woman, close quote. If she has a thin waist, a woman is considered very beautiful. All the daughters of Kadama Muni were of the same beautiful feature. I think since I have to do the next verse, I might just do the next verse because it's got a comprehensive purport, then we can comment on the whole lot, I guess. Is that okay? Atastvam rishi mukyebyo yata shiram yatarochi atmaja parideyadya vistrinihi yasubuvi. Translation, this is verse 15. Therefore, today please give away your daughters to the foremost of the sages with due regard for the girls' temperaments and likings, and thereby spread your fame all over the universe. Purport. The 9 principal rishis or sages are Mrichi, Atri, Angira, Purachya, Mulaha, Kratu, Brigu, Vivista, and Atava. All these rishis are most important, and Brahma decided that the 9 daughters already born of Kadama Muni be handed over to them. Here 2 words are used very significantly, Yata Shilam and Jata Ruchi. The daughters should be handed over to the respective rishis not blindly, but according to the combination of character and taste. That is the art of combining a man and a woman. Men and women should not be united simply on the consideration of sex life. There are many other considerations, especially character and taste. If the taste and the character differ between a man and a woman, their combination will be unhappy. Even about 40 years ago, in India, Indian marriages, the taste and character of the boy and girl were first of all matched, and then they were allowed to marry. This was done under the direction of the respective parents. The parents used to astrologically determine the character and taste of the boy and girl and when they corresponded, the match was selected. Quote, this girl and this boy are just suitable and they should be married, close quote. Other considerations were less important. The same system was also advised in the beginning of the creation of the Brahma. Quote, your daughters should be handed over to the rishis according to taste and character, close quote. According to astrological calculation, a person is classified according to whether he belongs to the godly or demoniac quality. In that way, the spouse was selected. A girl of godly quality should be handed over to a boy of godly quality. A girl of demoniac quality should be handed over to a boy of demoniac quality. Then they will be happy. But if the girl is demoniac and the boy is godly, then the combination is incompatible. They cannot be happy in such a marriage. At the present moment, because boys and girls are not married according to quality and character, most marriages are unhappy and there is divorce. It is foretold in the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam that in this age of Kali, married life will be accepted on the consideration of sex only. When the boy and girl are pleased in sex, they get married, and when there is deficiency in sex, they separate. That is not actual marriage, but a combination of men and women like cats and dogs. Therefore, the children produced in the modern age are not exactly human beings. Human beings must be twice born. A child is first born to a good father and mother, and then he is born again of the spiritual master and the Vedas. The first mother and father bring about his birth into the world, then the spiritual master and the Vedas become his second father and mother. According to the Vedic system of marriage for producing children, every man and woman was enlightened in spiritual knowledge, and at the same time of their combination to produce a child, everything was scrutinizingly and scientifically done. Translation again. Therefore today, please give away your daughters to the foremost of the sages with due regard to the girls' temperaments and likings, and thereby spread your fame all over the universe. Om Gyanati Midandasya Gyanam Gyanam Salakaya Sakshus Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Panchakapaturabhishya Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam. So very precise instructions given here for human society. We have to remember that Srimad Bhagavatam is about three things. It's about Krishna, the devotee, and devotional service. So all these subjects have been discussed now, even though they may appear slightly mundane, perhaps, to some people, talking about getting married and sex life and having kids. This is very much a very important part of human civilization. And we can see that the immense preparation that Kadama Muni went through, and following the footsteps of his great father, Lord Brahma. What did Lord Brahma do at the very beginning of his existence? Tapa, perform austerities. What did Kadama Muni do for the first, was it 10,000 years? He performed great austerities. So there's great preparation, because these great, very ancient entities here. They're responsible for populating the universe. So it's not a whimsical act. Just something that happens on a Saturday night after a few drinks. It's not completely different. There's a lot of deep meditation and thought and preparation, because of very high responsibility. Because the offsprings, they're going to have so much impact on the rest of the universe and all of us ultimately. So it's very, very important. And Lord Brahma is very concerned, because this is his devotional service. We're talking about devotional service. His service is to engineer the universe and populate the universe and provide bodies that are required for the many, many living entities that are packed up waiting to re-enter again and engage in activity. So he has to facilitate those conditioned souls. And ultimately the material world is there to engage the living entities in such a way that they gradually become elevated and then again realise the real identity. So it's like a rehab centre for the sick, conditioned souls that have somehow or other become bewildered and they've forgotten their real identity, and they want to take the place of God, become the controllers, the Purushas. So then you send here and you have a crack at it. Doesn't quite work out. And through the process of creation and birth and death and cultivating knowledge, you gradually reawaken to your real self, and you get out of this place. You're below this popcorn stand. So this is what happens. So this is very interesting. So what's very interesting here is you would think, why did Kadama Muni have 9 daughters? Or wasn't it 10 or 8 or 7 or 12? It's interesting. But then we see here Lord Brahma turns up with 9 rishis. So that's a very wonderful. The arrangement is these are very elevated souls. Why did Kadama travel into so many places and then come back and beget children? So that by reading and this is a wonderful thing, and the blessing of having to give class, because you've got to actually dig in a bit and try and understand and pray and read and hear. So it's understood that part of this travelling and absorbing all these different situations and meeting all these sages, it created a lot of mental impressions on Kadama Muni. And because at the time of conception, the consciousness of the Father enters those particular living entities. So he separated into 9, and then he was able to create 9 types of different daughters with slightly different character and mentality and taste, as mentioned as purport, to perfectly match these 9 sages. And this is to create variety. And you'll see in coming purports, especially in the next purport, you'll see the offspring of these amazing ladies, Kashyapa Muni, Chitraketu, and Treya. You'll see there's so many will come and create all sorts of very interesting personalities and characters. And so this is stemming from this selective and very careful breeding that's going on at the early stages of. This is the early stages of Lord Brahma's day, current day. This is the ruler Swayambhuva Manu, which we mentioned yesterday is a couple billion years ago. The scientists trying to tell us that humans came into existence 100,000 years ago. So I think they're out by a few zeros or so. Actually, considering this is the beginning of a day of Brahma, and he's in his 51st year or something, so we've been going for a while. And the way we can calculate that, we understand there's 1,000 cycles of yugas in one day Brahma. There's 14 manus in one day Brahma, and they all live for 71 cycles. So if you count back all those 71s back to the first manu, I think we're about halfway through now, the 6th or 7th manu, then you come up with approximately 2 billion years ago. So it's interesting, the culture going back so far is there. And sometimes we don't like to hear that women have to be chaste and to serve their husband, but also the sons the sons were very submissive servants of their father also. Everybody in the society, in a civilized society, is under control of one person or another. Spiritual master, the teachers, the parents, the husbands, so on and so forth. There's nobody that's independent that's not being controlled. Isn't it? We're all being controlled at one point. The only person that's not controlled is Krishna. And that can be argued as well. Because we know the things that go on where he also gets controlled. So it's a creation of control and controlled. Isn't it? And if you don't like it, it happens anyhow. Because the 3 modes of material nature, prakriti, kinana, guni, kamani, savasha, hankara, vimurapakataham, iti, manyate, under this false pretense, this false identity where living entities are being controlled and pushed by the modes of material nature, which are actually forces. They force us to do things we probably wouldn't want to do, isn't it? when Arjuna was asking Krishna, why do we do things against our will? And he says that's under the influence of the force of the Rajagun, and this lust enters the heart, and then we do so many crazy things. So we're always under control and under force. So I don't think it's just the poor old ladies that got to be the submissive. So we're all under the pump, one way or the other. So it's an extraordinary activity that's going on at the moment. This is all their service. And Lord Brahma has arrived on the scene now. He's very, very pleased with what Kadama Muni has been able to do. And we think, he's had nine girls, what's the big deal? But these girls are extremely qualified and have particular mentalities. And now these 9 sages are going to, and it proper makes a point, they're not just whimsically matched up. It's a science, it's an arrangement. And we can understand because Kadama is the son of Lord Brahma. He's not regular personality, very, very elevated. And they're able to match these things, understanding what the outcome is going to be. There's going to be further generations, and they have, like it says here, they're going to be taken on creative, what did Prabhupada say? Important roles in the universe because they're dominant personalities that come through. We know Kashyapa, who's the next generation coming from these daughters. He through his 2 main wives, Diti, so many living entities come out, demoniac and saintly. So Prabhupada mentions a lot the importance of proper consideration for marriage, not just the immediate attraction of the bodily attraction, which ignites sexual fantasies in the minds of the young couples, when they see each other. This is Prabhupada compares this to cats and dogs, because animals, they're just impelled by the bodily senses. There's no consideration of any control whatsoever, and there's no higher purpose but to find a dog or a cat and do the deed, so to speak. That's just, they're impelled to act. So this is animal life, eating, sleeping, mating and defending. The human form of life, as we know, is meant for higher consciousness, higher thinking. So this marriage situation, as mentioned here, is very carefully calculated. Prabhupada mentioned astrology. Now, devotees do use astrology to a certain degree, because we know in this age it's not completely accurate, but it gives us a bit of guidelines. And Prabhupada mentions there's demoniac mentalities and godly mentalities, and your charts will show you where you fall into, and ideally you should match up with someone of the same mentality. Prabhupada says same taste and likings. Translation says the girl's temperaments and likings. So it's considered, it's not just you just marry the girl off with whoever and the boy whatever, based on, there's consultation, there's calculations, and then they're brought together, and then the outcome is not just that they're going to be happy to live together, but it affects the whole society. When you've got a society of peaceful householders that are nicely situated and they bring up nice children, it makes it a lot easier for everybody to live and cultivate spiritual consciousness, because you're not disturbed by all these unwanted elements. Now, these days, we think we're liberated and we can do whatever we want, but some of the kids out there have gone completely wild, When I was reading, in England there's gangs of young girls, like 13 years of age, going around and ganging up and beating up men mainly and killing them and stealing their money. This is the age of freedom. Do what I want. I think even in Australia, in Central Australia, Alice Springs there's young gangs that go through shops, like 20 or 30 of them at one time, and just steal everything and bash people up. And so this is when the son and the daughter's under the proper guidance and shelter of the parents, and there's no scriptural, guidance. It's just the senses, like Prabhupada says, and it's just like wild animals. But animals are actually even better control than wild humans. At least there's a bit of regulation and discrimination. But when humans aren't guided by scripture, by higher authorities, they become dangerous to themselves and to everybody else, isn't it, Krishna says, if you disregard scripture, yashashtra, purimisija vatate kamakarata, nasidim avapnotina, sukham na paramgatim. For those who know that verse, it's towards the end of the 16th chapter of the Gita. Krishna says, if you act according to your own whims, in other words, do whatever you want, disregard scriptural injunction, you'll neither attain perfection, nasukam, no happiness, na param gatim, nor the supreme destination. So basically, you've got no hope. If you just go according to your own sensual and attractions and chase your tail and do that, then your life's going to be a failure. So this is the Bhagavatam teaches human society how to function in such a way that we become elevated in consciousness and get in touch with our proper spiritual understanding. You'll see the beauty about the Bhagavatam, so many of these personalities, they go back home, back to Godhead. You'll see in this chapter that both Kadama and devotee both go back to the spiritual world. So they're there. We can pray to them in the spiritual world to guide us. They're pure spiritual souls because they followed this given Vedic system of varnashram, and they took on their roles with great responsibility, and they didn't bow down to their own mental whims and whatever it might be. These days there's no guidance, and people are just dictated by their minds and senses, and they're bombarded out there by all sorts of horrific advertising and promotions and movies, and these days it's just, at least when I was growing up, it was just, and you had the 4 channels, black and white television. You had the ABC, the Channel 10, Channel 9, Channel 7, and they all turned off at night. You remember that? They didn't stay on all night. Like, I don't know if it was 10 o'clock or 11, they'd say good night, and then go white snow. That was it. You couldn't stay up. And there's no phones, remember? There's no internet. So what do you got to do? You got to go to bed early. You got to go to sleep. You don't stay up just agitating the mind with all sorts of images and videos and scrolling. These days it's very difficult for people to do yoga, to sit still and hear, concentrate, because we're just smashed to pieces. So this modern society, Prabhupada says, if people aren't properly matched and that, then it will end he says, and then there is divorce. So people that can't stay together. I think in Australia, I don't know what the statistics, but they changed. But I think in the United States, which is a bigger country, it's about 50%. And the ones that don't divorce, I don't know how many of those are happy. And because sometimes people remain married because of the children or the financial situation. But it doesn't mean that things are rosy as such. So even the ones that stay married under these circumstances, they can have very, very sad, painful lives, And it's explained those that get remarried, there's about 65% of them get divorced. So if you try again, it gets worse. And it says the ones that go third time, it's about 75% end up in divorce. So this is why the Vedic system, ideally, it's difficult this age because we probably don't go through this process carefully enough of matching boys and girls properly. But I say here as a community, we should have, do we have a marriage counsellors here or advisors on this farm? No, it'd be good to have a group of devotees that assist young couples when they come together to make sure that the arrangement is going to be beneficial for them rather than just let's do it. Sometimes it happens like that. That attraction just impels us to, and then you end up down a track that's not really suitable to both people, and all it does, it disturbs your spiritual life. When you're married peacefully, it becomes a nice ashram. Ashram means shelter. Your shelter's a place you go to, and you can cultivate your spiritual practices nicely with a support. You support one another. You're not at each other all the time and flying irons and fry pans going everywhere. It's just shanti, shanti. So this is what's been promoted here is proper arrangement with the proper goal in mind, that we want to become Krishna conscious. And the beauty of not having divorce in Vedic times is there's no other options. You've got to sit down, you've got to work it out, and you've got to live peacefully and remember the goal. And if you focus on the goal, which is Krishna, becoming purified and engaging in pure devotional service, then these other things aren't as important anymore. It's just when you make those things the focus, the relationship, and what's in it for me, and I want this, and you want that, and let's go here, let's do that. When it's just about yourselves, you're just rumbling down the hill and going nowhere. You've got to stay focused. So this is why, again, it goes back to the beginning. We saw Kadama. We see, again, with Lord Brahma, this preparation, the tapa, austerity, fixing the mind, brahmachari life, brahmacharini life. You learn to engage in devotional service selflessly. You perform austerity. You get up every morning. You chant your rounds. You study the books. You give Krishna to others, which is the greatest gift you can give to anybody. So this prepares you for a very good life. So if you do change ashram, you become married, which I think about 90, I don't know what the percentage is, 99% or whatever at some point. Not everybody, but most. Then you bring all that into your ashram, that nice training, and nice cultivation of knowledge, understanding that pleasing the spiritual master is the most important thing. And then you work together on the same goals. Then it's very nice. And you progress together. And then when it's time for vanapras, it's not a problem because you've, again, through that household, the life you've cultivated, that renunciation, that focus. And then vanapras, again, is a very nice period where you become a bit less involved. Like I mentioned this in my last class, the first two ashrams, brahmachari and grihastha, it's for this life, and the last two ashrams is preparing for the next. So Vedic culture allows half your life of preparation. It's not that you just do whatever you want all life and at time of death I'm just going to chant, It doesn't work that way. Because everything you've done in this life, especially your mentality that you've cultivated, that'll create a particular mentality at the time of death, and that will create your next body. So depending on what we've been cultivating and meditating on, that'll create that one sort of type of mentality, and that'll project you to where you need to go. So that's why we want to cultivate Krishna consciousness. We want to go to Krishna. So that takes an effort of a community through good association, and we have this wonderful program that Srila Prabhupada's given us. So this is a concern. If marriages aren't done properly, you end up with all sorts of kids that are wild. This is one of the concerns with Arjuna, wasn't it? When he was discussing whether the fight or not, there's going to be all these unprotected ladies, there'll be unwanted progeny. So even Arjuna was thinking in these terms that society becomes very, very disturbed if parents aren't properly matched and kids aren't conceived in proper consciousness. If all that's disregarded, then you end up with all sorts of disturbances, and we see that where we live now. But just keep in mind the material creation is cyclic. It gets worse for a while, but then it gets reset. So that it doesn't just keep going. And if you analyse the ages from the time point of view, Kali Yuga is 432,000 years, which is only 10% out of the whole cycle. So it's only 90% of the time you wouldn't have to discuss these things. People would be doing it. The Vedic culture prevailed. It's only Kali Yuga things become degraded, and we question and challenge, and we want to become the Lord of Masters, and we end up in a big jar of pickle, end up in a mess. And we can see the world's degraded very, very quickly at the moment. It's just so sad. It's just the disrespect of lives, and just the warfare is so barbaric, totally barbaric. In Vedic culture, the people, if they were had to fight, they would first try. Even Krishna tried so much to avoid the battle of Kurukshetra. He personally went over and put up a case, and Yudhishthira tried so hard, but they had to fight. But then, when they fight, they go to a sacred place. They don't just blow up. The hospitals and the people trying to eat, and it's horrific what they do now. They go to a holy place where there's no infrastructure, it's just a battlefield, right? They're going to be wrecking everything. and they fight face to face, and the leaders, the guys that wanted the war, they're at the front. They're not, 20 kilometres under the ground in the bunker watching it on TV, Get them. Ridhanand Maharaj calls them TV Kshatriyas. TV Kshatriyas. No, they're at the front, and it doesn't go on for years and years, and it's quick. I mean, 18 days, and there was a lot of people there, a lot of warriors. And because it was fought in a holy place under religious principles, they're following the guidelines given, they all achieved minimum the heavenly planets. And many of them, if not most of them, went back to Godhead, because in this particular battle, Krishna was on the battlefield and they saw Krishna before dying. And then all the old men, the women, the kids, the businessmen, the workers, the priests, they don't go to war. They stay back, and then when it's all sorted, they come back and everything continues. Nothing's disturbed. Your house hasn't been blown up. You've still got water and food, and your family's still intact. But these days, so to consider we live in an advanced society is an illusion. We live in a very, very degraded society. Very degraded. Our leaders are bewildered, and the things they're doing to the population is insane. Just wrecking everything in the name of advancement. Now we all got our phones. They're very useful, because especially if you've got the database on there, wherever you are, you can read Prabhupada's books. So that's why some people don't like having to wait for a doctor's appointment. I'm hoping he takes his time, because I'm in the waiting room in Bhagavatam, so I think it's fine. So it's so you can take advantage of these things, but they're also causing a lot of problems for people with technology, and then you've got the AI and everything else. So we need to focus. All of us have to become very clear what's being taught here. It's a process of life which elevates us to higher consciousness. It involves control, austerity, thoughtfulness, and then you can become elevated, and you can help others to become elevated. You can raise kids that can also help other people, and you create a nice atmosphere, combined atmosphere that's conducive to spiritual life, which attracts other people. So this is our responsibility, and there's much more can be said, because Prabhupada says a lot. I didn't speak about astrology, because that's not this would have been a good class for Devagora Hari, actually. He's a bit of how it all works. It's a real science. But again, it's hard to find a good astrologer these days. I might leave a bit of time. There's about 8 minutes left for reflections, questions, comments, corrections, all the above. Otherwise, I'll talk longer. Yes, Prabhu. I'll just grab your mic.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I was reading recently that the sort of central part of our process, the yogic process, is to learn to serve others. As you were saying, we all have superiors. So I was thinking, even in terms of your future, if you get married or don't get married, especially if you're going to get married, that sort of ability to keep that mentality of serving others is going to help for a more successful marriage.
Absolutely.
Because the selfish principle is actually just pulling us all apart, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the problem. Very good point. Yes, and it's nice. I mean, we actually take, because by constitutional nature we are servants. So we're going to serve anyhow, whether we're going to serve our senses or take our dog for a walk, we're going to serve, So like I say, to serve actually is pleasing. We all experience it. When you do some service and you do it nicely, then you derive some natural pleasure, because it's who we are, we're servants. Okay.
Baba calls it the happy place.
What's that?
He calls it the happy place.
The happy place. Yes, so we've got to raise these. And what's interesting also about this, because the scientists try and tell us that, back in the prehistoric times in the universe, it's like a dark, impersonal place. There's nothing going on. It's just, and somehow or other, it starts to go on by some. And they try and I don't know how they think they can figure it out, because all they're doing is looking through a telescope. The telescope might be hooked up to a $20 million computer, but they're looking with their eyes through a tube, and trying to calculate the origin of the universe, how it all started. They got zero idea. How can, and they try and go back in time somehow by looking at some distant stars, thinking that we're looking at what it was like, 10 million years ago. I don't know how they can't see Kadama Muni and Lord Brahma through their telescopes. That happened 2 billion years ago. So that actually the beginning of time is all the great brains of the universe are getting together to make it all happen. It doesn't happen by luck. There's and it starts off with the Lord, Mahavishnu, the lotus sprouts, and Lord Brahma appears. It starts off with the greatest intelligence and guidance, and the Lord empowers Lord Brahma. It's not just he figures it out himself. He's empowered to create, and the template it's used is the same template it's used every creation. It's not, I'm going to juggle the planets around different this time. I might stick the Earth right next to the sun and let them all fry. It's not that sort of mentality. It's very calculated and it all works very nicely because it comes, that knowledge and information comes from the Lord. Anybody else? Got a few minutes. We're going to go make the breakfast bell.
When we're trying to bring people closer to Krishna, you can see that because of a lot of culture, because of a lot of cultural conditioning and a lot of brainwashing through media and whatever, that people are adverse to even thinking that religion is good for civilization, or even if you mention the word God, people are kind of like a bit weirded out by it. And it kind of seems to us that comes from cultural conditioning, or like the way people have been brought up and seen different things on movies or music or this kind of thing. So it's kind of hard. We have to kind of go around and say, oh, these books are on meditation and yoga and all this kind of thing. But eventually when they read it, they'll realize what they actually are. I don't know what I'm trying to say, if I'm saying a question or what, but I'm just kind of...
Discussing the point how to present Krishna consciousness to a godless civilization, to say the least. So devotees have become expert over the years. I mean, I even heard devotees used to hold up the Bhagavad Gita and say this is about horse racing. There's a chariot at the front, So, but I think we've moved on from those days. Alanath Prabhu, he's a great book distributor.
I did for a few years, but just on Tom's point, I heard a nice thing the other day, Tom, and fellow book distributors. This comes from Vaisheshika Prabhu, who was a legendary, you may know, more than 50 years selling Srila Prabhupada's books, and his technique for stopping people is with a big smile saying, "You look like a spiritual person." I thought that was just... because everyone likes a compliment. And a lot of people do identify... they may not identify as a religious person, but there is a lot of people who do... I'm a spiritual person. So that's the way... I just thought that was brilliant. So I just wanted to share that.
If you want to skip the God word, that's the way to do it. Spiritual is quite an accepted term these days. Meditation, yoga, spiritual. People say, I feel spiritual today. Don't know exactly what that means, but it's a term that's accepted. So you just find out what people like, And Vaisheshika is beyond expert. So that's a great soul. And for those, I guess you all know him, right? Vaisheshika Prabhu. He was our hero growing up as brahmacharis, one of them, Pragosh Tripurari. Yes? That's what exactly. If you look at Mukunda Maharaj and his cohorts, when they all went to England if you ask them what did they do at the beginning when they got there, they went on Harinam every day, all day long, 8-10 hours a day, because they didn't know what else to do. And that was the process that Prabhupada taught them. And from that chanting, everything came. We can see from all these austerities what comes out. You see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, what did he do before he started his mission? He went to Navadvip and he chanted 1 billion names of God. Chanted for 192 rounds a day, or 200 rounds a day for almost 10 years, every day. You just say Kitri. It's just to get prepared for preaching. So, so it's our process. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. We should stop now. It's breakfast. And thank you kindly for your time and attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Sukadama Muni, Lord Brahma, Devahuti, and Kapila Dev. He's actually already appeared now, you know. Maybe hearing all about him soon.